Hey, I'm Nick Knudsen, joined by Will Miles. This is a special bonus edition of Stand Up and Holler. Will, the Gators finally break through and land that five-star quarterback. I know Rashad is pretty highly touted, but DJ Lagway, big time get for the Gators out of Willis, Texas here, Will.
Yeah, I tell you what, you go look at his 24/7 listing and you start to get excited. So my Uncle Jeff gets excited because the comparison in 24/7 is Hendon Hooker
Of
as
course.
the quarterback he's compared to. And obviously, if Florida gets that kind of production out of DJ Lagway, they're gonna be very, very happy with the performance that they get at quarterback. Again, a guy from Willis, Texas, so somebody that Napier likely has had a relationship with for longer than just this 1 year since he's been at Florida. He's been the target all along in 2024. We were obviously very disappointed when Cormani McClain decided to go to Miami, in many ways because he was the number one target in that 2023 class. Now you add DJ Lagway to Miles Graham, and you've got a really, really strong base for the 2024 class moving forward, really with two guys who are probably going to both end up as five-star candidates by the time this is over. I think Miles Graham's rated like 30th overall. Those
Yeah, he's
would
on the
be
edge. Yeah.
I mean, but regardless, those are the two highest rated guys that Billy Napier has brought into the program, whether it's the 2022 class, the 2023 class, but now the 2024 class, the two highest rated guys. And he's only got three guys in the 2024 class. So there's still quite a ways to grow in that particular class. And you figure you bring in a guy like Lagway this early, now all of a sudden the dominoes start to fall, right? Who are the wide receivers who want to play with DJ Lagway? Who are the offensive linemen who want to play with DJ Lagway? And then obviously, given what Trevor Etienne was able to do this year and what Montreal Johnson was able to do this year, who are the running backs who are going to want to come in and play with DJ Lagway? I mean, the reality is that he's not Anthony Richardson from a physical specimen perspective, but he's 6'2", 220, I
I
think.
was going to say,
And
let's not sleep on 6'2", 225. That's what I'm
well, that's
seeing.
different than 6'4", 250. And we'll see if he can
A
run a
little
4
bit.
440. But what I will say is, again, you start looking at the high school statistics, accurate, right? This junior year, 134 to 200, so 67% completion percentage, averaging more than 10 yards of throw. So going downfield, that's something that I think is really important when you start looking at the high school stats. But also 50 rushes for 517 yards this year, 127 rushes for 715 yards the year before, even though he was a little bit less accurate, right? So he took a big jump from his sophomore year, which was his first year starting, to his junior year. And most of the time when I look at high school stats, I'm looking at the senior year. So Lagway still has another year obviously to play, another year to develop, and another year to put up a season very similar to the one that he's putting up here in 2022. And if he can replicate that, I think Florida's going to be very, very happy.
Yeah, well, I'm getting this from Gabe Brooks at 24/7 Sports. Calls him a broad-torsoed, stoutly built quarterback with ready-to-play physical tools, legitimately 6'2", 225, with corresponding short to intermediate throw velocity, rips the ball in those portions of the field and drives it to the perimeter. Ball gets out fairly quickly, explosive over the middle, intermediate juice, big-handed with the ability to manipulate throw path, latent delivery. Will, one big note here from Brooks, his accuracy, Lagway's accuracy improved in his junior season by a big jump, 12 points in completion percentage. That's pretty steady improvement from your sophomore year there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a jump, right? And that's going to be the question is when he goes from his junior to a senior year, does he sort of take a step back? Does everything sort of plateau? Or is he going to even be able to take another step forward? And I think that's what people are excited about is potentially he has the ability to take that step forward. And I think from a program perspective, it's important too. I mean, I went back and looked at all the quarterbacks according to 24/7 and looked at their overall quarterback ranking since 2000. And Chris Leak's number one, then Tim Tebow, then Jeff Driscoll, but then DJ Lagway would be number four, then Cam Newton. So you think about that, right? Leak, Tebow, Driscoll, Lagway, and Newton. Like Driscoll was okay, not great. Leak was, I would consider a star, considering that he started for a national championship team. Tebow, obviously a star, and Cam Newton, if it wasn't for the laptop, would have been a star as well, and did turn out to be a star at Auburn. So when you get a guy in that area, all of a sudden now you're talking about guys who can be really, really elite players. And we always talk about like sort of those top 5-star guys about 80% of the time turn into NFL caliber players. Well, look, that's what we're sort of seeing when we look at the top 5 guys Florida's ever brought in since 2000. Now let's look at 6. 6 is John Brantley, 7 Gavin Dickey, 8 Will Greer, 9 Jaden Rashada, and 10 Felipe Franks. So Frank's a starter, not a star. Greer, I think you could say, had the potential to be a star had he not gotten popped for PEDs. Dickey didn't really amount to much. Brantley started and wasn't able to be any big shakes for Florida. So again, now you get to that next tier, and there's a lot more risk and a lot more variance in that specific space. But what this means is two things. One is that Billy Napier, for all the criticism that he's gotten from me and from other people about his recruiting ability, is recruiting quarterbacks at a high level, right? So he now has two of the top 9 quarterbacks, the 4th ranked and the 9th ranked quarterback in the last 2 classes in that Florida's brought in since the year 2000. And so over the last 22 years, if you've been frustrated with Treon Harris at quarterback, or Emory Jones at quarterback, or Jacoby Brissett, or Anthony Richardson, or John Brantley, well, he's now got 2 guys in the fold who are going to be competing. One who's got the profile of a Cam Newton or a Chris Leak, and one who's got the profile of a Will Grier or a Felipe Franks. So the quarterback position at Florida should be solid at minimum with those 2 guys in the fold. Beyond that, I think, again, it's just, you think about like the way Clemson built their program is they built they had very solid recruiting classes, not elite recruiting classes to start with, though good and especially good for the ACC. But what they did was they hit on Taj Boyd. They hit on Deshaun Watson. They hit on Trevor Lawrence. And now look, all of a sudden, DJ Uiagalelei isn't a hit, and Clemson is, 10-2 rather than 12-0 and going to the playoff.
And is he going to be playing at Clemson next year?
No, he's not going to be playing
so
at Clemson next year.
Got to start stacking these positions year in and year out. I don't think college football the mindset of, oh, well, they took a quarterback last year, so they're not going to take another top quarterback this year. I think that's dead. I think you just try to stock the top talent every single year, and it doesn't really matter because these guys are hitting the portal with a frequency that's just unbelievable right now.
Well, and this was always the mistake that I think Florida's coaches have made in the past is, oh, well, we've got a quarterback, we don't need to bring in one, or hey, we'll bring in 2 who are of similar rank and similar talent and let them battle it out. That's not necessarily good, because if 2 guys battle it out and one guy loses the battle, well, the other guy's going to transfer out. Yes, you have to absolutely stack them, right? What you really want is, so, I wrote about this when Rashada committed, that quarterbacks in his ranking, somewhere in that 30 to 100 range, and he's ranked 54th right now, but somewhere in that 30 to 100 ranking usually work out about 25% of the time, which means you need one of him every class in order to assure that you're getting solid quarterback play. Well, now you bring in Lagway, and you might actually be able to skip a year, because Lagway, if he, it should at least be a 50-50 proposition. So so from the standpoint of, do you need to stack again? I don't know. Now, obviously with injuries and those sorts of things, you want to make sure you've got as much talent on the team as you can. And if there's another quarterback prospect in 2025, you're not going to say no to him. But from the standpoint of where do you allocate your resources and those sorts of things, Lagway is a guy who, especially when you look at his profile, when you look at what everybody talks about when it comes to him, he's a guy who can come in and start right away. He's not a guy who you're going to say, oh, he's a developmental prospect, maybe 2 or 3 years from now he's going to play. No. This is a guy who's going to have the ability to come in and play right away, which means that it's going to be him and Rashada fighting it out probably in the 2024 season to figure out who's going to be starting. And whoever doesn't make it is going to transfer out, which means you're going to need better guys back behind them to be backups. But that's why you bring in a guy like Max Brown, right? That's why you bring in a transfer like Jack Miller, who may not be around when that battle's happening, but those sorts of guys with those sorts of profiles, I think, are going to be available in the transfer portal relatively cheaply. And it remains to be seen whether the portal is going to be as crazy, next year and the year after as it is right now. But you think about all the quarterbacks who are in the transfer portal right now, Florida could pick up a backup quarterback right now pretty easily, and it probably wouldn't cost them all that much in terms of NIL money and those sorts of things. It would just cost them the roster spot. So if you've got an elite guy like Lagway and he turns into an elite guy, the idea that you won't be able to replace Rashada if Rashada's the backup, or if Rashada turns into the elite guy, the fact that you wouldn't be able to replace a Lagway with a competent backup to supplement Rashada if he's playing really, really well. I think those are going to be guys you're going to be able to get in the transfer portal. So yeah, every year you can bring one of these guys in. They're a lottery ticket. Lagway is a better lottery ticket than Florida's had in a really long time. And that doesn't mean he's going to be Tim Tebow. It doesn't mean he's going to be Cam Newton, but it means the chances that he will be Tim Tebow or Cam Newton is much, much higher than even a guy like Rashada. And Rashada, hey, I'm excited about what he can do too. So, people should be excited about what the quarterback position is going to bring for the Florida Gators under Billy Napier at this point. And look, there's been a lot of debate about whether we need an offensive coordinator or whether Napier needs to give up some play calling duties and those sorts of things. Well, we're going to find out, because he's going to have talented guys behind center for basically the next 4 or 5 years. And if at some point along the way the offense isn't getting the job done, still looks as inconsistent as it did in 2022, then it'll be clear that Napier needs help, and then he needs to go get that help.
Let's talk about what this commitment means. I know there was a lot of excitement around Rashado when he flipped, but we went through, face it, we've been the program, we've been, always the bridesmaid, never the bride in these type of situations with these 5-star commits, particularly a 5-star quarterback, Will. I mean, biggest win on the trail since when with this? This has been some time. Like, what does this do for the confidence in Billy Napier going forward as a fan base?
I mean, I think this is the biggest win on the trail since Tebow. I mean, you think about what Tebow meant to the organization very early on in the recruiting cycles for Urban Meyer. And now you say, okay, well, what does Lagway mean for Florida? Well, one, he means all of the howling about recruiting, which there's going to be some, because the 2023 class is not going to be what it needs to be in order to be competitive with Georgia and Alabama. And it's okay. That is what it is, but we need to be honest about that. That's just the reality, is it's not at that place. Right. And so you're going to
by that, you mean top 10 class in America still, but just not Alabama, Georgia.
Yeah, not Alabama and Georgia. But again, right. Billy Napier didn't get brought to Florida to go 10-3. You can do that with Dan Mullen. Right. In fact, Dan Mullen showed that you can go 10-3, 11-2, 8-4, and then have things fall off the table. That's not what Billy Napier's been brought to Florida to do. He's been brought to Florida to have a sustainable, long-term program that can compete for championships. And so if you're going to do that, you're going to have to compete with those big boys. So there's going to be noise in the system because of the 2023 class, but the 2024 class now, I mean, look, if you go back, I have a database that goes all the way back to 2014 for Florida, and they have had more than one 5-star once. So in 2021, they had one 5-star. In 2020, they had one 5-star. In 2015, they had 2, and that was the bump class for Jim McElwain, where he got Martez Ivy and CeCe Jefferson late. And then 2014, they had one 5-star. So over the last, what is that, 9 years, not counting the 2023 class, which right now, 2023 class doesn't have any 5-stars. So over the last 10 classes, there's been 5 5-stars for Florida overall. And geez, I mean, Alabama and Georgia are bringing in 5 5-stars per year. So you look at the 2024 class with Lagway, who's going to be a 5-star. At the end of the day, I don't think he's going to drop it all. Miles Graham is surging up charts, which means now you're looking at 2 5-stars in this class already, and you only got 3 commits. So is there the ability to put 2 or 3 more 5-stars in that group? Absolutely. Is he going to be able to do it? I don't know. But, one of the things that I've sort of been just watching with jealousy is I've been watching Harold Perkins play for LSU and sit there going, oh, he was down to Florida and LSU. And what kind of difference would that have made for Florida's defense this year to have Harold Perkins coming in off the edge? It certainly would have made the loss of Brenton Cox a little bit more palatable to people. And maybe that happens earlier and some changes happen on the defensive side earlier if they've got a guy like Perkins or even Jacoby Matthews, who wound up going to Texas A&M. So now you sort of look at it and say, all right, like, you have established that 2024 is a year where you've already gotten off to a fast start and you just have to finish it. And, his transition class was something where he's just coming in trying to cobble things together and get the best class he can. But that's build a relationship quickly, go into Louisiana, try and pull the guys from Louisiana that because those are where your relationships are. The 2023 class is a place where you expect there to be a significant step up. There is a significant step up in talent. It's better than any class that Florida's had over the last 10 years, but it's still not good enough to compete with the guys that they want to compete with. And so this 2024 class, especially with DJ Lagway, gives you the ability to say, we've put our our flag is in the sand. This is going to be the class. Now let's fill it up. Don't you want to come play with DJ Lagway? He's the guy who's going to lead us to
DJ
prominence.
Lagway himself can say that, though.
Absolutely.
That was my next question here. How important, not that just that it is a 5-star prospect, but that quarterback position, that guy's going to be a leader on the team. He's probably going to be rallying the guys on text messages and everything, and calling people up and bugging them to come play. I think that the fact that that is a quarterback that is in early is going to have such an impact on this class.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Rashada, his flip obviously was late. There were some guys who I think took a second look at Miami because Rashada originally committed there.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's a great thing that Florida gets him to flip from Miami. You would never turn down a quarterback in the top 50. At the same time, you didn't get that benefit of having the guy in there who says, "This is my team, this is my class. We're going to turn this program around. Come help me do it." And now you got Lagway who's going to be able to do that. So, and the other thing is he's from Texas, right? So if you think about where Florida might try to expand their footprint, and maybe that's the only thing that I don't know how it's going to work out, right? Is Lagway going to be recruiting people from Texas that he knows, like the guys that he's playing? Is that going to be a place where Florida tries to make inroads? Or is Lagway going to be able to help with the guys around the state of Florida where he's coming in on unofficial visits and official visits and things like that, and being able to sort of entertain the receivers who are in the state of Florida? Because one of the things I think that's disappointing about the 2023 class is that the state of Florida was absolutely loaded with talent. And the expectation, at least my expectation, was that Billy Napier was going to just clean up, that he was going to draw a circle around Gainesville, and that circle was going to extend basically all the way down to Lakeland. And from there, he was just going to go, all right, I want you, I want you, I want you, I want you, I want you. And we were going to look up and it was going to be a top 3 or top 5 class. That has not happened, right? You get a guy like McLean who ends up going to Miami. There have been some other guys who've been it's been a leaky situation.
Hey, shut up. We just got a 5-star quarterback. Have a little fun, Will.
No.
Come on.
That's
we
what
just
I'm
got
saying.
a 5-star quarterback, dude.
But that's what I'm saying. He's going to come in and hopefully those guys are going to start coming to Florida because they see the guy they're going to play with, right? I mean, honestly, if you were a wide receiver and you saw, you saw Marcus Stokes as the best quarterback prospect that Florida's brought in under Billy Napier, and you look at the inconsistency of the offense, do you say, oh, yeah, that's where I want to go? I'm definitely going to the pros being a wide receiver there. Or do you go, oh, Bryce Young's up at Alabama. They'll have some other 5-star right behind him. Or, hey, maybe I'll go to USC and play with Caleb Williams before he goes pro. Or, hey, maybe I'll go to Georgia where it doesn't matter, where I'll get buried because nobody at Georgia plays wide receiver because they never start a quarterback. Well, I mean, I guess they've got Heisman Trophy finalist Stetson Bennett starting now as well. But, yes, it makes a huge difference to have Lagway there.
Yeah.
And look,
give me a fist pump, Will. Give me a fist pump over a 5-star quarterback. Come on.
I mean, look, have I
One
not
fist
said
pump.
have
One
I not
fist
said
pump.
have I not said enough nice things about
No,
Billy
just
Napier
one.
at this
Just
point?
one. Just give me one fist pump over
I
a
just
5-star
did, dude.
quarterback.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I'm an analytical guy. He's got to finish this class out. Like, it's not, I mean, honestly, it's not good enough to just have 2 5-star guys. He's going to have to fill out the rest of the class.
As we saw with Rashada, nothing's done until it's signed, right?
Absolutely.
Got time. Got to keep him too.
Make sure the contract is signed.
Yep.
and that you can't leave. Hopefully the collective has language on that on whatever deal that's associated with this that makes it ironclad.
But definitely exciting news. Exciting news to really get the ball rolling with that class of 2024. Might have fallen short of expectations. We've had sky high expectations for the 23 class. Might have fallen a little bit short of that, but that 24 class sure off to a good start. DJ Lagway commits to Florida. Big win for Billy Napier and the Gators. Thank you for watching this episode of Stand Up and Holler. Be sure to subscribe to the Read and Reaction YouTube channel. Join our Patreon community at Read and Reaction for bonus content each week. And check out our website at readandreaction.com. I'm Nick Knutson, joined by Will Miles. And as always, go Gators.